Hello, welcome again to FAIRtax Power Radio. I'm Bob Paxton,
And I'm Bob Scarborough.
and we are
Hello,
the FAIRtax Guys. And there's our trademarks, the scrolling banner and Fat Albert.
Fat Albert. And the scrolling banner is self-explanatory, but Fat Albert is something. If you're just watching the program for the first time, that indicates that's a reflection of the complexity of the income tax.
It was
And
actually one of three props that we took the first time we went, Ron and I went to CPAC. Excuse me.
just
Thirsty.
brought to you
But
by
yes, first time we went to CPAC, we took three of my cubes, Fat Albert, a slightly smaller one, and then a little 2x2s. And Fat Albert was the income tax, what we just had all scrambled up, which was complex, totally incomprehensible. 99.99% of the population can't solve it. And then we had the other one was the flat tax, which was just slightly scrambled, which is what will the flat tax will become the income tax because it is an income tax, but it won't stay flat. It will get increasingly complex as time goes along. And then my little 2x2 cube was the FAIRtax, and that was supposed to be, kind of a graphic representation of the difference between the FAIRtax and the flat tax and the income tax and all. So we may have to do a comparison show on that one of these days. We may do that again.
yeah, that'll be
That's where that came from.
yeah. Well, I mean, and the thing is the little bitty flat tax cube would grow up into be the big Fat Albert income tax cube because you can bet your bottom dollar, no pun intended, that you're going to end up with as long as there's an income tax, there's going to be somebody there to tweak it. And
That's the difference. The flat tax is really the same thing we've got now. It's still a tax on income. You still have tax returns. You still have withholding. You still have the IRS. You still have audits. You still have all the nasty things that come with an income tax because it is an income tax.
that's
And
right.
if you want to go way back in the archives, you can go to the FAIRtax Guys YouTube channel and go back to some of the original episodes that Ron and I did together because we would set those three cubes out in front of us when we were sitting on the same set side by side, and you could see what they were. So
Yeah.
that's
And we'll need to put a picture up of those on the Facebook page and
okay.
let.
Well, we'll have to go back deep in the archives and grab a screenshot from one of those things and see what that's all about. But for now, yeah, it's my little note card. Let's get back into this. And again, I promise to try to be good and not run this out too awful long. Again, I still think I'm just still fascinated watching the Congress critters and knowing something that 99.9999% of the population doesn't know. They don't keep up with it. But it's always crazy, and I'm always looking for stuff to put in the tax proposal Hall of Shame. Not much out there this week or last week, but we'll start with this one. This is S 898, a bill to amend the Internal Revenue Code to prohibit audits based on merchant category codes. And I will admit that I have no clue what merchant category codes are, but I imagine, that the credit card companies and stuff like that, banks will categorize merchants by, the nature of their business and assign each one a different category code. And Senator Thune of South Dakota says, we're not going to let the IRS audit you based on your merchant category code if S 898 becomes law.
Yeah, I mean, if you got automotive, you got the tires, you got retail, you got grocery, so those codes are what the Visa, Mastercard, et cetera, use to because sometimes you can get your statement back and you see, oh, this purchase for $39.95 plus tax was made in this for this particular item, and so on.
I'm not convinced those codes weren't invented so we can track who's buying stuff at gun stores. So that's an entirely different issue. We're not going to get into that here on FAIRtax Power Radio.
I
But
think Discover and some others are considering, if not already have not already implemented.
okay, well, let me move on. That's a little personal observation there. That is not the official position of any fair tax organization. Let me make that clear. But moving on, HR 1661. Guess where this one came from? To amend the Internal Revenue Code to repeal the excise taxes on wagering.
That would be Las Vegas, Nevada.
I'm not sure if it's Las Vegas, but yes, it is Nevada. This is Representative Titus, Dina Titus from Nevada, District 1. I didn't know there were, of course, I don't engage in that stuff, so I didn't even know there was excise taxes on wagering, but the Internal Revenue Code says there is, and they want to get rid of that. So whatever.
Well, you would think that, I mean, I don't know that there were, I mean, that would be something like a tax on fuel, for example, at the gas station, an excise tax.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah,
do you where do you pay? How do you pay a gambling tax? I mean, how do you how does that? I don't even know how that works because
I don't know. I
I
have
get
walked I have walked through a Vegas casino one time when we went out there and did a presentation to a candidate forum. I did not stop, but I had no clue how any of that stuff works. But apparently, there's an excess tax on wagering that they want to repeal. But let me get going so I don't run out of time here. This is on the last one I want to mention today is HR 1656 1656 to amend the Internal Revenue Code to allow a credit against tax for charitable donations to nonprofit organizations providing workforce training. And you look at that and you say, wait a minute, you already got, a deduction for charitable donations, but this doesn't say a deduction. This wants a credit. The difference between a credit, which is applied against the tax you owe, and a deduction is applied against the income on which you are taxed. So tax credits are more valuable than deductions. So now they're going to be picking winners and losers again. It says if you donate to these charitable organizations, you get a tax credit as opposed to a tax deduction. That's Lloyd Smucker of Pennsylvania introduced that one.
wonder if he's got a farm up there somewhere.
I don't know. Tax code picking winners and losers again. We need to get the reason we do this, besides the fact that it fascinates me to start with, the reason we do this is to show folks how crazy the tax code is. I can guarantee you there's no other country anywhere else on the planet that has a tax code that is as convoluted and has as much junk in it as ours does. And we need to jerk all of it out by the roots and replace it with the fair tax.
That's the only way. I mean, it is an absolute mess because those lines of code, the tax code lines that are in there, there could be something in there that's just for one organization or one industry. And well, like Bob said just a second ago, they're picking winners and losers, or they're incentivizing or disincentivizing an activity within the operation of our capitalist system.
Well, I think any tax code that requires people to report the fair market value of the things that they steal has no right to exist. I think we should just get rid of that.
Right. And those drug dealers have better make sure that they keep up with those transactions too.
And those folks become taxpayers under the fair tax when they buy things.
That's right.
People that make their money by less than legal means or work for cash under the table and stuff like that, they do so to evade the income tax, which is evaded now to the tune of $1 trillion a year. The IRS finally admitted that. And the fair tax, as we've mentioned before, reduces evasion by about 95% because it makes those folks that are currently evading the system makes them taxpayers because they buy things.
That's right. They're going to be in the grocery store, probably standing right next to you at the self-checkout.
Oh, now don't get me started on self-checkouts. I do not like to work for Walmart for free. Okay. But anyhow, that's going to do our fair tax, our congress.gov section for this. Then I do. How'd I do on time? We get that okay? So hopefully that won't be a problem.
Seconds. Not that I was counting or anything.
Okay. Well, we want to move on again. Last week on FairTax Power Radio, we looked at some of the economic studies that are available in the FairTax Research Library under economics. And again, you might have to search for that. They took the tab, unless they put it back, and I haven't seen it recently, unless they took the tab off of the fairtax.org page. But you can still find these things by Googling for them. And we looked at a study from an econometrics. I used to know how to talk, but firm. And we're going to look at a fair tax white paper today that came out in 2007. And again, these are kind of old, but the concept is still the same. The conclusions are still valid, but AFFT again can use your help to help update these economic studies that we're basing our fair tax arguments on. If you'd like, go to fairtax.org and join the 1040 Club. We'll throw that little plug in right quick. But this one is the Fair Tax Restores International Competitiveness to American Manufacturing, Agriculture, and Trade. And when you restore competitiveness to American manufacturing, agriculture, and trade, what do you get? A stronger economy and more jobs. This is the Fair Tax Jobs Bill.
Oh, yeah.
Is that all you got to say about that?
I was looking around for where on the website all this great information is, and like I said last week, we would be happy to send you this information, the PDF files of what we're talking about here in the last couple of shows.
Okay, yeah, but again, you may have to Google Fair Tax Research Library, and you'll come up with these things. And I say there is a lot of material there on the economy, because the fair tax is just Stephen Moore, who is now newly member of the Fair Tax Advisory Committee. He now says he describes it the same way we've been describing it here: rocket fuel for the economy.
It's really it's absolutely incredible, and it doesn't take long for it to once it's implemented for it to actually begin to make a difference. Yeah.
Okay, but one of the points that this article we want to look at today makes right out of the bat is the Fair Tax Plan reduces the cost of American manufacturing and agriculture considerably, because under the Fair Tax, American manufactured or grown goods and services no longer enter the world marketplace burdened with hidden corporate taxes, the cost of compliance with such taxes, or Social Security employee matching. This amounts to an average cost reduction from 12% to, in some cases, more than 20%. Said another way, American goods become 12 to 20% more competitive in the world marketplace when the fair tax replaces the income tax.
That's right, because anything that's imported is still going to have the burden of whatever their country's taxes are in the products within the resources that create that product.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're talking about. So we are definitely, and as an exporter of goods and services created at that lower level, at 12 to 20% lower level, is going to be super competitive on the world market.
Okay. Well, this paragraph really caught my eye. How do U.S. goods incur federal taxes today while imported goods don't? And it says, let's buy a bottle of California wine. Well, I don't know about that. I can get a bottle of cheer wine here.
That's right.
I like this one. Let's buy a Boeing 787. That's a good one. I'm not sure where I'd park it, but I'd like to have a Boeing 787 or some Kansas wheat, or a Caterpillar tractor, or some consulting services from our buddies at PricewaterhouseCoopers. Now, while your invoice would not show it, included in the cost you pay for those things is your share of each provider's corporate income. Can you imagine how many companies are involved in building a 787? All the subcontractors that build the parts and this, that, and the other, and they're thousands upon thousands, if not millions of parts of one of those things. And every one of those things has a tax department, an accounting firm, law firm that figure out those taxes. They defend themselves from IRS audits, and the taxes just keep going and going and going. And even though the taxes themselves can, in some cases, go below zero in a bad year, compliance costs just keep adding up. And then, of course, there's the match for each employee's Social Security contribution. So the corporation includes payroll taxes, and you, the final retail consumer of products and services made in America, pay every penny of those taxes. And if there was one point I wish I could get through people's head, that's it.
We're right. And I'm sitting here thinking about that Boeing 787. You can go all the way to the resource, the natural resource that's used in making the steel, because you've got to mine a certain amount of iron.
Well, 787s are made of carbon fiber, so I'm not sure you got to get the carbon to do that with.
something in between the Wright brothers and today. So, but anyway, we're talking about all the way down to the core natural resource that's used in manufacturing. There's costs involved at every step of the way. And the thing I like about the fair tax is it takes the burden of compliance off of the employer. Takes the burden off of the employer, so he can begin to think about things other than where's that file that has form and and things like that. And those are the things that excite me, because the American entrepreneurial spirit gets unleashed when all of that time gets back in his corner for productivity and moving forward, instead of having to go in a non-productive, non-revenue generating mode of collecting all of the things that have to be collected to deal with the income tax.
And this article continues to say the price that you pay for any of these products and services include all three of these different kinds of costs: the taxes themselves, the compliance costs, the Social Security matching, the payroll taxes. And you pay that for the company that provides the glass bottles if you're buying the wine, or the cork provider, or the label inks provider. Can you imagine how many miles of wiring are in a 787? And how many, all the copper that has to be mined out of the ground, the tires, the rubber for there, the fertilizer for the wheat, the paint on the bulldozer, or the iPhones and iPads carried by our PricewaterhouseCoopers consultants. You pay the tax costs, all of that stuff, on all of that stuff when you buy the final product.
Yeah, it's amazing that you stop and think about all of the taxes that are in the cost of pretty much everything that we buy or consume. That all goes away. And competition, people say, well, no, folks are going to actually, businesses are going to actually try to keep those prices up so they can make no, what'll happen is competition in the business category, in the industry, they're going to be driven down just by the nature of competition. I'm going to that cost out, the tax cost out of my product or service, so I can compete. And the first person that gets to that lower price is still going to come out a winner. And all of the other competitors in whatever market it is are going to follow suit in a very short period of time.
Right. Scoot down a little farther in this article, and it makes a suggestion that says, all right, let's buy some French champagne, or an Airbus A300. Now, that's an old model. If I'm going to get an Airbus, I'm going to buy the biggie. I'm going to get the double-decker A380. Or you can buy some Argentinian wheat, or a Komatsu tractor, or some consulting services from a French consulting firm. And again, while your invoice as a U.S. purchaser will not show it, all of those providers, Airbus and the Argentinian wheat farmers and the other folks, those providers incur a value-added tax along the way. But the difference is, when those products are sent to the export market, those taxes are rebated back to the manufacturers, which means they come out of the price that's on the world market. And the local users, if you're in France and you buy an A380, you'll pay the taxes on it, but as a U.S. recipient wouldn't. So when these products arrive here in the United States, these prices do not contain any of the country of origin taxes. And so sitting right side by side with them, the hidden hand of Uncle Sam raises the price of American goods, while, let's see if I can do this without with our little virtual background messes me up sometimes, but our prices are raised up, and the other one, now this isn't going to work. But anyhow, the prices of American products on the world market are, you can get away with it. You're not using one of these virtual backgrounds, but that's the whole idea, that foreign competitors have a significant advantage against American manufacturers and service providers on the world market, because our prices contain the embedded cost of our tax system and theirs don't.
Yeah, and it would certainly level that playing field for sure.
So you talk about border adjustability, border adjustable tax regimes, and that's virtually everybody in the world has one. That grants their producers a 19% price advantage over U.S. produced goods, and whether they're competing here or abroad. Since all of our trading partners have border adjustability, means that the taxes come out when the products cross the border. And the Americans are the only ones, 34 out of 35 OECD, and I'm not sure what that stands for, but OECD nations have border adjustable tax regimes. Guess who the one that doesn't? You got it, the United States. So we are way behind the whole rest of the world in the world market because our tax system inflates the cost of everything we send to the world market.
Yeah, it really is. It really is an offset. I mean, it's just an imbalance. Like we really are behind, like you said, in that area.
Mhm. And when we're talking about the fair tax is good for the economy, which is what we are talking about today, if you level the playing field and make sure that the Boeing 787 and I guess the Airbus A380 would be, or not the A380, the A350 would kind of be the similar type aircraft. If you could buy either one of them and they don't have the tax component in them, you're going to buy the better airplane. And whether Boeing versus Airbus is an argument I'm not going to get into, but generally, American manufacturers will produce higher quality goods and services than their foreign competitors. Now, I'm not sure that on some individual cases that might not be the case, but generally that's true. So if you've got a level playing field, our side wins on price and quality, gives us a better value when you take the taxes out of the prices of American products.
Yeah, the field gets absolutely leveled within just a matter of how long it takes to wash out on hand supplies that have the taxes in them. There's going to, I think, be a transition, but probably not a very long period of time at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like how gas, you got a commodities, increase for fuel that travels along a path of about 6 months. So if somebody announced, we're going to start drilling, back in the Gulf, et cetera, or we're going to retool our factory to refine oil at a more efficient rate, well, then the price of that gasoline from the truck to the gas station, you'll see the price go down at the gas station months in some cases before that eventuality of that fuel gets there. Same thing happens with the cost of goods from a manufacturer standpoint to the consumer with the fair tax, because that cost is going to be more efficient. The cost of getting that product to market is going to be more efficient without all the embedded taxes in it.
All right. We got to scoot down here a little bit to a little farther down in this article. It says the fair tax brings more and better jobs to the United States. The fair tax is good for the economy and the people who live under that economy. Again, quoting this article, perhaps a more fundamental issue is the overall impact that the fair tax has on the competitiveness of U.S. industry. U.S. businesses are much less likely to locate their plants or corporate headquarters overseas. Foreign companies will be coming to the United States in droves if we didn't have a corporate income tax. The Americans are employed building these new plants. Americans are employed working in these new plants. And if you bring all this outsourced, manufacturing capability back, not only do you help the job market, you fix a lot of the supply chain issues. Remember last Christmas when they said everybody's Christmas presents are sitting in a container ship outside of Los Angeles Harbor or something?
Absolutely, absolutely. That was quite a thing to watch, and of course, the cost of what was available on the shelves in the stores was a little higher, not only because of inflation, but because of the fact that they might only have a certain number of that particular item that you were looking for.
Mm-hmm. And again, the big deal that we cannot continue to emphasize too much: compliance cost more than the tax liability. What you got to pay your tax accountants, what you got to pay your tax attorneys, what you got to pay your lobbyists in Washington, D.C. All the time, effort, and money that is spent simply complying with the tax code is, again, costs of doing business that goes into the price of everything that retail consumers purchase. All of that goes away with a fair tax.
Absolutely. It really is something. Under the fair tax, everything changes. The competitive game changes. Our ability to, as business owners, to innovate and be creative and not have the burden of thinking about all the compliance and the ramifications of paying the tax goes away. The employees get the benefit of a full paycheck from the free from federal taxes, and it really is quite remarkable. And I do hope over the next several months that folks will consider this, sit and think about this for a moment as to how it would change your life, how things for you, either as a business owner or as an employee or as a mom that's sitting there with 3 jobs, and one of them is to pay all the taxes, and the rest. Just think about how it would affect you and how it would change, and get in touch with us too via email or responding on the comment sections of where our shows air, and let us know how it will affect you, or ask us a question, and we'll be glad to help you solve the concern that you might have.
Indeed. Again, I would encourage people to Google FAIRtax Research Library or something similar to that, and find there's a lot more there that we've been able to touch on, even in the couple articles we've been talking about here for the past couple of weeks here on FAIRtax Power Radio. But that's just about all we got here. We do have time left to remind everybody of our email address, the FAIRtaxGuys@gmail.com. If you have a question or a comment about the fair tax, and we'd be happy to answer it. Chances are pretty good we'll know the answer, but if it's a stumper, we got other resources that we can rely on, and we will get you an answer. Now, if you got one of those crazy off in the weeds kind of things that's going to apply in 0.000897% of the cases, we might not have to address that one. But anyway, we do want to hear from you. The FAIRtaxGuys@gmail.com, or leave us a comment on one of our videos, either on the YouTube channel or on the Rumble channel, or on the FAIRtax official Facebook page, where these things stream live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Encourage your family and friends to watch, share these videos. We'd certainly appreciate all of that. And I'm afraid that's just about all the time we got, sir. What you think?
Well, I think we did pretty good. We got through a couple of weeks worth of focusing in on the fair tax and the benefits to us as consumers, to business owners and manufacturers, and are competitive in a worldwide market, and also something that we are passionate about this. We hope that if you're new to the fair tax, we invite you to get engaged with us in a conversation while we're here all on a regular basis, all the time. Actually, we'll respond and get you in touch with folks that can help you understand it a little bit better, because once you understand it, you'll demand it. And
we'll get to that a little bit later. But again, I will remind everybody that the AFFT can use your support. We need to update these economic studies that we're looking at. And if you can go to fairtax.org and join the 1040 Club and invest just $10.40 a month in helping AFFT do what we need to do, that would certainly be appreciated. And that now is going to wrap up this edition of FAIRtax Power Radio. Thank you so much for watching, listening, and sharing. I'm Bob Paxton.
I'm Bob Scarborough.
We are the FAIRtax Guys, reminding you the fair tax is the only truly fair tax, and now you can say it. Once you understand it,
you'll demand it.
So, how much will I bring home?
Go ahead.
How much do you make? We'll just say 40,000. Okay, keep it simple, throw out the deductions, all that stuff. So, you got your 40K, right? Now the first 8,000 is going to be taxed at 10%. The 8 to 33,000 is going to be taxed at 15%. And the 33 to 40, of course, is 25%. So that brings your total to $6,345.
Okay, so the average is what?
16%. Okay, and then on top of that, you got Medicare, which is 1.5%, and then of course your Social Security, which is 6.2%. So actually, your new total is $9,405.
Which is
23.65%. You're getting it. You're getting it. Don't even get me started on what the boss has to pay. He's got to pay a portion of your taxes as well, so you don't have to.
Right. And you?
Oh,